Now, the Finance Minister, Malusi Gigaba, met with the new SAA board. He introduced him to staff and the media. We are told they're about to make an important announcement, so let's go there live.
Reference the time frame for the inquiry, as well as the judge who is going to preside over it. We expect this inquiry to be constructive and to strengthen the institution further where possible. The inquiry will also help to assess what other factors are responsible for the under-collection of revenue by the South African Revenue Service and what steps need to be taken in order to improve performance management systems at SARS to improve its capacity to collect revenue. The medium-term budget policy statement recognized that whilst the economic cycle is the most likely and significant factor driving lower revenue collection, other factors could also be at play, such as weakening tax morality and challenges facing tax administration. Whatever the reason for such shortfall, the risk of under-collection of revenue impacts directly on the size of the future budget deficits and hence on the sustainability of the projected debt to GDP trend, and directly on our credit rating and growth prospects. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. It's quite a clear statement, so I don't know if there's any questions. Don't feel compelled to ask us just because the Minister is here. If you are covered, it's fine. So by a show of hands, if you need to ask, you can ask one question or two. Yes.
Can you make that statement available?
Yes, I'll do that. I'll make sure. Chilas.
Minister, just in simple terms, what is this inquiry looking into? I hear you mention issues of tax morality and other issues. What are you inquiring into in a less technical phrasing?
I don't think anything could be more simpler than the statement I just read. To try and simplify it would actually complicate it. So it's as simple as that. We are looking at measures to strengthen the institution. As I say in the statement, whilst we recognize that the underperformance of the economy is the single largest contributor to tax under-collection, but there could also be other factors, as I say, such as weakening tax morality as well as institutional challenges within the tax administration. It's important for us to look at other ways that may be needed, that may need to be taken in order to improve the capacity of the revenue service and support the work of revenue collection. There has been a number of issues raised about the capacity of the revenue service. Whether founded on fact or not, it is important that we should not be dismissive of such concerns, but we look into them by engaging teams, dedicated teams of experts that will look into the matter and give us advice, particularly as the Minister of Finance, to improve SARS and ensure that we address the weakening perception of the revenue service.
Take these two, then we're closing it. I'll force the third one in, but don't feel compelled to ask questions. Go ahead, Arabi. Okay, we'll start at the back and I'll come to Arabi.
Sorry, this is a little bit off topic. I just spoke to him earlier about it. I just want a confirmation from the Minister. Yes or no, the Treasury has until today to facilitate the meeting between SARS and SAPO to find a way to the social grants provision deadlock. I just want to know whether or not you'll meet that deadline or not, whether that deadline will be made.
We are engaging with with SASSA and SAPO as mandated by Parliament. I have written a letter to the Standing Committee on to SCOPA and other relevant committees indicating the measures that we are taking in that regard. There are ongoing discussions to try and mediate to find a solution that is going to ensure that come the 1st of April 2018, we have the capacity, the means, the mechanisms, the instruments to pay social grants as we are expected to.
Minister, was the under-collection, even in the previous period, and what you expect to under-collect in this period, the sole reason for you going into this inquiry or requesting this inquiry? That's one. Two, Commissioner Tom Moyane, sorry, has repeatedly said that his staff are very capable of completing their task and that it should not be laid upon them, that any blame should not be laid upon them for any sort of under-collection or anything of that sort. Do you feel that an inquiry of this sort, or were you worried at any point that an inquiry of this sort would undermine his position and how he stands on the Revenue Authority?
The only reasons are the ones that I provided. That we are looking both at tax under collection as well as the public perception about institutional weaknesses at SARS. We are looking for ways to improve that capacity and therefore the public image of the Revenue Service. Because in some other ways, it could be argued that ongoing perceptions of tax administration, about tax administration, would impact on weakening tax morality. And so it's important for us to try and get to the bottom of the issues and find ways to re-strengthen the institution in terms of its administrative capacity, so that we can be able to address the challenges that we have experienced. We are not blaming under collection on the Revenue Service. As I say, the underperformance of the economy is the single largest contributor to under collection, but increasing tax morality or weakening tax morality and negative perceptions about the Revenue Service are a cause for me as the Minister of Finance to be concerned and to try and get to the bottom of the issues. The Commissioner of the Revenue Service has stated his position, and this inquiry is not trying to refute his position, because it could very well come to the same conclusion that in terms of the warm bodies, the capacity is there, but there are other factors which are leading to weakening tax morality and the under collection, and then we expect that it will make such recommendations as would lead to the improvement not only of collection but also the public perception, because what we also don't want is to sit over our heads when there are recurring discussions that impact on public perception about the Revenue Service, because that too will influence the decisions by people whether they are going to comply with their tax obligations or not.
Minister, I think we've said enough.
Sorry, ma'am. Okay, yeah. Just a quick one. Minister,
can I just take him then, because he's going to complain?
My question is based on the imagination that an inquiry like this would take a long time, and secondly, given fundamentals that are in place as far as tax evasion, tax avoidance, and money laundering is concerned, aren't those maybe the obvious reasons that could lead to maybe under collection? And if so, is there suspicion of certain entities and you just want to cast your net wide and not to paint everybody with the same brush, but to actually get the legal process to hone in on the people that could be suspected, not to be taking their tax responsibility?
But you see now you are going into details that the Minister said would follow, to be fair, but I'll allow the Minister an opportunity, because we did say this is just an announcement, the details will come. You're already asking us if we suspect any particular person, so can we just respect that the details will follow this announcement. Minister, maybe we just take 2 hours before we come.
No, let me rather say, allow us to work on the terms of reference and to announce them. The inquiry could very well come back to say to us, the issues that you are raising are precisely the issues we should be concerned about, and there could be more, including issues of illicit financial flows, tax evasion, and other such matters. And in the instance that the inquiry does that, identifies those issues, we expect it to probe them and make recommendations to us about how to strengthen the capacity of SARS to deal with those challenges. So we will be expecting that the inquiry is going to come to us with a number of proposals that we are going to take forward in improving tax collection, because it is quite a fair expectation that through processes of illicit financial flows, base erosion and profit shifting, there is a lot of revenue we could be collecting that is not being collected. And if the inquiry says we don't think that SARS is capacitated enough as it is to be able to combat that, to collect that revenue, we suggest it should do the following things in order to deal with that. Then we expect those recommendations to come out of it. But what we are going to be doing now moving forward is to identify the judge who's going to preside this, to identify to set the terms of reference, to undertake the processes of the appointment of the commission, and get the process rolling.
Thank you.
Minister, could be coincidence, but the line about underperformance of the economy not being the only reason for the kind of revenue shortfall we are seeing features in Jacques Pauw's new book, The President's Keepers. To what extent was this partly informed by some of the allegations that are made in there, and perhaps you wanting to perhaps get to the bottom of some of those allegations? And lastly, will it be public or will it be shrouded in secrecy in line with the practice itself?
I have not read that book, and I'm sure you don't presuppose that the medium-term budget policy statement, which made exactly the same statements I made earlier, was informed by that book, because it was not. We said in the MTBPS that the under-collection is not only attributable to the underperformance of the economy, but also owes to some challenges with regard to tax administration. And so it's not something new that we are saying today. We've been saying that, we've been repeating that statement. I know exactly, because in all the interviews, including the ones I did with ENCA, straight after the budget in a very hot marquee, I made those statements in Cape Town, that there are other reasons of tax administration which could also be responsible for the under-collection. So we do want to get to the bottom of the challenges. I don't think we should establish a commission with an intention of pointing fingers. Otherwise, we are going to undermine it from the outset. As I said, both the commissioner and I were concerned that we need to undertake this process in order to try and get to the bottom of the issues, and if there are any recommendations which must be made to the SARS, they will then be made and we will implement them. Whether the commission will be shrouded in secrecy, the commission is not being appointed by the Revenue Service, it's being appointed by the Minister of Finance, and so we will deal with all the modalities pertaining to the commission at the time when that announcement of the details is being made. I don't think we need to jump the gun and try to prejudge the process.
Thank you, Minister. Thank you for your patience, and have a good day, colleagues.
Thank you. Oh, what did
took it a bit bumpier. It's still going to get more action
Finance Minister Malusi Gigaba there making that all-important announcement to the media. He says an inquiry will be held. It will be led by a judge. This inquiry will be into tax administration at SARS. Malusi Gigaba telling the media gathered there that the president has acceded to this inquiry. He says Tom Moyane, SARS commissioner, has also been informed, and he has said that he will cooperate.
The minister also saying it's important to look at other ways to support revenue collection. He says they will specifically be looking at the revenue shortfall in South Africa, and he's also pointing out that he's not blaming the under-collection on SARS, and in particular not on Tom Moyane.
Yeah, he's talking a lot about the shortfalls. You'll remember in his medium-term budget policy statement, he shockingly announced that Treasury projects a shortfall of 50.8 billion rand for this financial year, and also projecting shortfalls for 2018-2019 of almost 70 billion rand, and in 2019-2020 projected shortfalls of almost 90 billion rand. He now says that this inquiry will help to strengthen SARS' capacity to deal with these challenges. He's yet to identify the judge who will preside over this inquiry and also decide on the terms of reference.